All right. Folks, good morning from my end here in the state of Minnesota, and welcome to Focus on Liberia. My name is Anthony Sie. This is our very special edition of Focus on Liberia. Today on the show, we have with us journalist Sekou Sharif. Sekou Sharif is a journalist in Liberia who, according to a report, is being chased by the Liberian government. Mr. Sekou Sharif is here today with us here on Focus on Liberia to tell his story. It is being reported that the Press Union of Liberia, that should be protecting journalists, unfortunately has offered him as a burnt sacrifice. What has happened? What did he do? Why would the Press Union of Liberia, that should be protecting this journalist, is more like offering him for burnt offering? To get to the bottom of all these questions, we have brought in Mr. Sekou Sharif. Sekou Sharif has joined us from Liberia from an undisclosed location because report is that Mr. Sharif is being pursued by the government. Journalist Sekou Sharif, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity so that I can speak to Liberians in the United States and across the world that usually follow your program, though most of them follow us on our presentations in Liberia. But I will be grateful to you for allowing me to appear on this unique platform.
Thank you. So, Mr. Sharif, you have been offered as a burnt offering to the government by an institution that you are a member of. Tell us what happened.
Sorry. It is very comical when, the president of Liberia, that is to be protecting journalists in our country, writing the government, mainly through the Ministry of Justice, and in extension to Civil Law Code B, requesting a journalist arrest for what reason that has not been made clear to journalists in our country. But before going, remember, the president of Liberia, under the leadership of Charles Kofi, has been in total contradictions of the objectives of the president of Liberia. All of what I'm going to be discussing today are going to give reference to what the constitutions of the president of Liberia and also the constitution of the Republic of Liberia. Now, it was the same president of Liberia that called on the government to shut down 2 radio stations. And the objective of the president of Liberia, the union is established for the following objectives. Section 1 of the PUA Constitution: to protect, defend, and strengthen the rights of journalists and members. And so in that direction, you will expect the president of Liberia to do what? To protect, defend, and strengthen the rights of journalists in Liberia. Unfortunately, it's not in the case of what exactly we are experiencing under the leadership of Charles Kofi. Now, Charles Kofi has gone to the extent on many occasions calling the government to go against journalists in the country. Now, you expect the president of Liberia to be very strong against some of the things that they will see that the government is doing, or maybe other individuals against the rights of journalists. But under the current leadership, it is quite different. But this is the entire story. A couple of months, we've been criticizing issues in the country. We are journalists. We need to speak truth to the power. We need to speak truth to anyone else once exactly you are not doing things in the interest of the country. And so we've been discussing issues with pieces of evidence concerning some of the folks in the opposition. At the time, you had the opposition with their own, talk show host from the other end with their own this issue. We go, we come, we discuss all these things and all of that. And Charles Coffey came up with a press statement, very, very hateful statement, calling on the government to shut the 2 radio stations down. And you know, the government cannot just shut radio stations down. There should be reasons of, before shutting them down. Why is it they should shut us down? There were nothing proven to shut us down. And so we remain on air. We continue to do the things in the interest of the people of this country. So Charles Coffey, who's the president of Liberia at the time, because in my mind, his time has expired, but he has violated all the constitutions of the president of Liberia. He decided to come up with a press conference, a press statement where he said, it is of no interest to have us on air when they shut down the other radio station. So he has got the kind of a bad feelings about what we do. He has not been able to call us for meeting or as to how to settle the issue as the president of Liberia.
Mr.
So
Sharif,
Mr.
Sharif, before we go to that, we want to know, because you just said here, as a media person, you have been trying to lay down, paraphrasing you here, all the things that are happening. You've been talking truth to power. So tell us, there got to be something that you may have said that somebody is not satisfied with, maybe apparently somebody in power. So what are some of the things that you think you have said that somebody somewhere is not satisfied with, for which you are on the run today?
No, it is not. It is not. Let me make this clear.
Please
you know,
do.
it is this I want to make the people to understand, because I've challenged the Ministry of Justice, which I said to them, I'm not above the laws of our country, but the way in which they proceeded, they didn't do the right thing. Now, I've said some things about the Ministry of Justice, meaning the Minister of Justice, Musa Din.
What did you say?
Let me take you to the issue. Now, you cannot be justice minister and you continue to undermine the peace of the country. And we continue to expose some of the things he has continued to do that has got negative impact in our country. Of recent, the government of Liberia prayed the court to have an arrest warrant, search and seizure, all these things to search in the premises of a Roots FM. And then this is the justice minister. He said the government is not in the direction to arrest anyone. And the document in our possession is that the government prayed the court to give them the arresting power for a journalist they think that may have done something wrong, right? So this is the issue. The president of Liberia Constitution states that the union should go for elections after every 3 years. And now, for those of the people that are watching, this is the constitution of the president of Liberia. And all the things I'm going to say them with facts. And the constitution is clear. They said before you can go for the Congress of the president of Liberia, what you need to do, you need to allow 60 days and you put together members to go into the financial aspect of the union. That's number one. Number two, they talk about publishing the names of eligible voters 30 days before the election. And you should do the publication in 2 local dailies. And then the qualification for one becoming a member, they got categories, one of which talked about the issue concerning a journalist should work with recognized institution for at least 5 years. Now, I started practicing journalism in 2007 in Margibi County. I came on the national scene in 2013, and I got an associate membership. And I want to speak with facts, because this is the reason why people, they usually get with me in this country, they say, and this is my associate membership, for those of you that are watching, of the president of Liberia in 2014. I want you to see the date, in 2014. And so I decided to go and get my full membership of the president of Liberia. In that process, I filled in 2 separate forms. I paid the money that I needed to pay. But in many occasions, I was being humiliated by Charles Coffey and his likes. On this fateful day, I went to Charles Coffey to ask for my ID card. Mr. Charles Coffey said the listing that they've been able to place on the bulletin is not an official listing, but it is a preliminary listing. And I said to him, we've got days to go for elections with all the violations of the Constitution, and then you are yet to give my ID card. What is the issue? He said the photographer had a problem. He needed to, get to the photographer. And he sent me to one Mr. Page. And I went to Mr. Page. And I asked Mr. Page, and Mr. Page gave me the photographer number. And I decided to call the photographer. I asked, I said, what is the issue that you've not been able to get the ID cards of people that are paid? And he said, the leadership of the president of Liberia, headed by Charles Coffey at the time, they were indebted to the process. So he could not. And the information they gave me, they said the photographer had a problem with LEC. And I wanted to purchase the new generator because I never wanted any problem. But because Charles Coffey had a perceived mind that he never wanted me to be part of the issue because he has got something different and too many things playing into it. And he continued to drag the issue. Imagine he spoke with some lawmakers, telling the lawmakers that I should write a letter of apology. And I said no. So on this day, when he told me that the listing is not official because I work with an institution, I've got workers with this institution that are well qualified.
Mr. Sherry, before we go to the roster, before we go to the roster.
No, this is where the problem came from.
Sorry, before we go to the roster, I want to know what is your role in the Press Union of Liberia?
Now, I am a journalist like anyone else in this country.
Okay.
Now, if you try to ask, maybe you ask the people in this country, name 2 big journalists. My name will be mentioned.
Thank you.
If you ask 2 big journalists in Liberia, my name will be mentioned.
Your name will be mentioned. So you are a prominent member of the Press Union of Liberia.
Which I am, and then they are denying me my right to give me my full membership.
Okay.
But right? When we started to haul and pull the issue, the president of Liberia, president at the time, Charles Coffey, decided to write a communication to the Ministry of Justice, telling the Ministry of Justice, I, as a peaceful citizen and a Liberian journalist, is being accompanied by NSA officials. And the Ministry of Justice did not call Sekou Sheriff to ask him if it is true or to give me due process. Like the scene where Charles Coffey, they went ahead, they violated the Constitution of the President to expel me. Then the Ministry of Justice wrote civil law could be. And also they wrote the police requesting my arrest.
All right, before we get to the arrest, let me take the time to say, folks in cyberspace, as you are joining us here on Focus on Liberia. My name is Anthony Sie, hosting this morning in the US. We have with us journalist Sekou Sheriff. Sekou Sheriff, we understand, is being offered he's been recommended to the Liberian government for an arrest. And he's here to tell his story. We want to know what happened. And this is the story he has been trying to tell us. So, Mr. Sheriff, you were talking about the Outer Road earlier. So tell us, other reports reaching us is that you were able to damage the Outer Road because you have some crimes with it. Is that true?
It is not like damage, right? I have the voter road. Right? What really happened is that when the president said to me that the ones that were placed on the board, they were not the official listing, right? So they were just there. It was an issue where you could experience, the kind of a fraudulent issue and all of that. And so in front of him, I said, but then instead of us having, unconfirmed listing that could bring more problem into the election, because We are journalists. We speak about integrity. We speak about people. Why if this issue could be national election in our country, and to see the government or maybe the National Elections Commission to continue to path the way we continue to do. And so I said, let us bring this down and allow the committee to place the real list in there. Because as for one fact, I'm overly qualified. The institutions I've worked with in this country, not too many young persons have worked with them. You would like to know some of the institutions I've worked with in this country.
Thank you, Mr. Sekou Sharif. Folks in cyberspace joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We have with us journalist Sekou Sharif. Sekou Sharif is being pursued by the Liberian government as we speak. Our understanding is that there is an arrest warrant on the person, Sekou Sharif. So, Sekou, tell us, are you on the run now? Are you hiding?
No, but the thing here is this, right? I continue to tell the people in this country, I am not above the law, but I do not allow anyone to infringe on my rights. I've continued to challenge, even this morning on my show, I challenged the Ministry of Justice, and I challenged the court, and I challenged the police. I'm not in hiding. I'm moving the country. Why can't they come? Can you imagine I personally walk to the court to ask for the document which they said they've got for me? Of late, I've got to understand that it is an arrest warrant. For what reason? It is not to my knowledge. And I called the Justice Minister. He's yet to answer his phone to know why he said he ordered the people. And lately, I received a letter from the President of Liberia asking the Ministry of Justice to have me arrested. And so the Ministry of Justice instructed the court and also instructed the police. But let me say kudos to the police, because I went there with my lawyers and I told them the issue is in court. But why, in fact, they should order my arrest? What have I done? I've done nothing else to do arrest or being a critical journalist. So should I require my arrest? I said no. And I've continued to criticize the leadership of the President of Liberia under the stewardship of Charles Coffey. Do you know what, my brother? It is very...
Sorry, Sekou. So you are saying that it is the Press Union of Liberia, an institution you are part of, that should be protecting you, is the one more like giving instruction to the police and the Justice Minister for your arrest? Is that how it is?
Indeed. Indeed, it is the President of Liberia. This is what I'm saying. Now, it is scary, right? Because you cannot have institution that is to be protecting your rights and continue to call on government to have you arrested. So it is very frustrating. Now, for Sekou, I can say this to you. I continue to say this to the people in government. I'm willing to go and facing them and let them bring the pieces of evidence against me. I'm not above the law, but no one will infringe on my rights. And so the press union that's supposed to be protecting the rights of journalists, it is the President of Liberia calling the government to shut down radio stations. It is the President of Liberia that calling on the Ministry of Justice to have me arrested. And I see that just as a joke, because I challenge them. I challenge them every day. I challenge them.
Sekou, how because you know the Press Union of Liberia Constitution. You have a copy with you that you show to us. How is it possible from your constitution that the press union can instruct, recommend the arrest of a journalist that they should be protecting? How is that possible?
But that's the question. It is very embarrassing, though. I think we need to be asking one Charles Coffey, who sits as the head, though he's not legitimately elected. But I think we need to be asking him, though, right? Because you go on social media, the letter he wrote, it is all on social media. People are discussing it from all the loopholes and corners as to see the union that is responsible to protect journalists to be requesting for the arrest of journalists. So it is not a secret. It is open. Now there's a major discussion in the country as we speak.
So Sekou, we see why you, I don't know you, I know you don't want to admit that you are hiding, but I mean, it's something for somebody to take precaution, because if the Justice Ministry is taking order from the press union there must be a reason why somebody will say, no, I'm not going to make myself available. Does this terrify you for the Justice Minister of Liberia to be taking orders from the press union?
It is not surprising, and I'm not afraid. The reason why it is not surprising, because there's a Justice Minister that has brought himself below the belt. And then people say, oh, I speak the way I speak. No, I speak truth to power. I look in the faces of people, I tell them the truth. And the Justice Minister has bring himself down to the extent that you do not see the man as a Minister of Justice, right? You really think this requires the Minister of Justice praying the court to have me arrested? When the president of Liberia alleged that I move along with NSA officials. Now, in a very good working environment, the Minister of Justice needed to write the NSA and have me informed and investigate me and let the president of Liberia provide the pieces of evidence to authenticate that I move with NSA officials. Did the Ministry of Justice do it? They didn't do it. But because of hatred, and this man, I've continued to say, this man, at the end of the day, if we're not careful, will plunge this country into the darkness, because he has said this on many occasions. He is the lawyer for Dr.nya wife, right? And so he does all to satisfy Dr.nya. Dr.nya, I will not go. So I've said some worse things about him. And so because he wants to pay back, he's not going by the professional way. So he wants to put himself into a story that he knows nothing about. Is this the Justice Minister I should be afraid of? No, I respect him, but I am not afraid of him.
So how can you prove to our listeners here that the Justice Minister is taking order from the PUL?
But the letter is proven though. And the court people said, now, I have two separate invitations. One is from from civil law code B. That was on last Tuesday. Let me just land my thought, please.
Go ahead.
Our offices, and the sheriff said, no, they won't allow anyone to sign for it, only Sekou sheriff, with the intent that when I sign for the writ of arrest, immediately they're going to arrest me. So the police decided to invite me as well to also go for such an issue. But the police behave very professional, because they asked me to get my own side of the story. And at the end of the day, the people got to understand that this is just about politics, because you got one president of Liberia, President Charles Coffey, who's getting support from Alexander Cummings in extension from the opposition. So they want to do everything to humiliate me, to see me in a mess that they will say at the end of the day about, this is what we wanted to see.
Sekou, the station that you work for, I understand is Freedom FM, right? Who owns that station? Is that station owned by somebody at the NSA?
The station is owned by a Liberian who has the right to work in any one of the positions in this country. And so it should not be determined as to who is the owner. And this is what the people need to understand. I continue to say this to Liberians. The things we do here, it has not got to do with any influence. All the things you see on the radio, we say them with facts. Now, if you see here, this is a document I'm going to write, right? I've been able to take like 1 month to investigate this information. And before I get on the radio, I move on the radio with facts. And so everything I say, it is not being influenced by anyone, even you in government or what. I support the government, but I also criticize the government of wrongdoings. If you follow my presentation this morning, I criticized one of the government officials for what she did. In my mind, she didn't do well, and I criticized her. And so this is not about someone from NSA or someone who's not from NSA. Can the PUL, I'm saying this to you, thousands of people listening to us, if the PUL provide the evidence where I was accompanied by NSA officials, I should answer to the laws. I should be arrested. I should stop practicing journalism in this country. I am not above the laws of our country. Let the president of Liberia provide the pieces of evidence as to where I was accompanied by NSA officers. How do you determine that this person is an NSA officer, in fact? Do people come and tell you, say, I'm an NSA officer, if only if they are NSA officer? So I'm not too sure that Charles Coffey is a magician. But guess what? Do you know the guys violated the same constitutions? Now, everything I will say to you, I will say them with facts. This is the Constitution, Article 29. For those of you watching us, this is Article 29 of the President of Liberia Constitution. Let me tell you what it states. This code of ethics and conduct shall be binding on all journalists and media institutions in Liberia, and punishment for violators shall range from warning, fine, suspension to expulsion. The Press Union of Liberia Grievance and Ethics Committee shall investigate all matters and complaints arising out of the violation of this code of conduct and recommend penalties to the Executive Committee for action. They did not say when Sekou did something, for example, they didn't go in the interest or within the confines of the President of Liberia, you should immediately suspend or expel Sekou from the President of Liberia. But the President of Liberia, under the unorthodox behavior of Charles Coffey, went to the extent to expel a journalist. Journalists like me, you will expel me for no reason, you know. So I'm saying that we cannot be journalists. We criticize people to do the right things, and then we continue to do the wrong thing. Now, if you see the President of Liberia election in this country, it is very shameful. Now, politicians are making mockery out of us. Go on social media and see the posts. How people are criticizing a noble institution that should govern himself. That to the extent people will learn from what the President of Liberia will do, because we claim to be professional individuals. And so when you speak truth to the power, they see you to be very rude. And this is what I'm saying to the leadership. Charles Coffey has damaged the image of the President of Liberia. I will continue to say it. We do not have any financial report as to, for the 3 years, how did Charles Coffey use the money that came from Internews? How did Charles Coffey use the money that the government gave to build the headquarters of the President of Liberia? And I'm saying to them, why can't you people account for all these things? Why can't we do the right thing? They see me to be against them. So at the end of the day, they do not want me to be part of it.
All right, so let's leave it right there. Folks in cyberspace, if you are listening to us here, this is Focus on Liberia. My name is Anthony Sie, hosting this morning, US time. We have with us journalist Sekou Sharif. Sekou Sharif is in high water with the Press Union of Liberia. He's been recommended to the Liberian government for an arrest. Our understanding that is that there is an arrest warrant on his person. Sekou is here this morning on Focus on Liberia to tell his story. Sekou, you say a lot of things. You said you just read the Press Union Constitution, an article that gave
29.
Article 29 of the Press Union Constitution that provides the opportunity for a grievance and ethics committee if there is any accusation on the conduct of a journalist. Did that happen? Were you submitted or were you asked to submit yourself to any grievance and ethics committee for you to be investigated?
And this is the comical part of the whole thing. Nothing of such. Now, something happened at about, for example, 9 o'clock, and then the union came up by 9:30. They took decision. That's how he runs the President of Liberia.
All right.
And that is totally unacceptable.
All right. Before we go to our phone line, just this morning, you said on your show that if Cummings, Alexander Cummings, is elected, he will bring in his gay brother. If Euro is elected, he will bring in Congo people. As these facts?
But I think you guys, anyway, you've now followed me for long. If you've done, then you'll get to know. I do not speak on radio because I want to speak for people to favor me.
But did you say that? Let's establish that first. Did you say that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All the things I said them with facts. Alexander Cummings, 95% of the amount he spent in this country, they were being offered by gay institutions.
How do you know that?
They were being offered by gay institutions. Oh, I'm a journalist now. And I'm not just a journalist, but I'm an investigative
And so you have to prove
journalist.
your case.
That's what I'm saying. I've said it. And I've challenged them. If what I'm saying, they think it is not the right thing, they should take me to court. But I've said this over and again. They've not done it. Now, Benin, I continue to say Benin, he has guns in his house. I've helped some of the people. I've sent pictures. In some of the instances where they were to take the guns from Benin horse, his home to Yeke Koluba, I sent recordings to people and to how they want to play and all these things, where they wanted to go attack. I sent all these things to people. I've said these things about them. Why can't they order my arrest if what they think or sue me to go and prove what I've said about them? Now, this is what's happening in Liberia. Few individuals, Alexander Cummings, desperately in for the presidency, Benin Ayure, Joe Boaka, who has failed the people of this country for 12 good years, even in Wasonga, the people cannot boast of safe drinking water at the time he served this country as the vice president. If you want me, I will share with you the video. They put themselves together thinking that once it is not the Congo people, it should not be the native ones, because they think that if the native people are leading, it won't give them that sense of respect. And so what they are trying to do, and they continue to do, is to undermine this system, to continue to cause chaos, confusion, so that will stop investors from investing in the country. Evidence of all the things you've heard about Liberia. If today is not protest, tomorrow will be other protests. If tomorrow is not protest, next tomorrow will be another protest. Do you think only Liberia is being faced with challenges in the world? No. There are other countries that are even worse than the things we do in Liberia. We do not support the government for the delay in salaries of government officials, but we also do not support the people to say they should bring down a democratically elected government.
Sekou, we will get to some national issue, but you have made some sweeping comments here, and I'm going to press you on that.
You are right.
Say that Alexander Cummings, when elected, will bring his gay brothers to the government. You also said that Alexander Cummings is soliciting funds from gay.
He has been receiving, not soliciting, but he's been receiving.
Hold it there, let me learn that he has been receiving money from gay organizations, and that is how he is funding some or most of the activities in Liberia. And that is all you said, and you went on to say, if he think I'm lying, he should take me to court. If you are accusing somebody and you want to be believable, maybe you should be able to tell enough, because anybody can say what you just said. Somebody will say that to you. What's your defense?
No, if you say anyone, then you've not been able to understand the job I do. I speak to you as a journalist, and I speak to you with the power and the pieces of evidence I think I've gathered. Now, do you know what it means to come on a radio where you got the entire country listening to you and come and say things about people without facts? Do you know the implication it has got to reach to you?
Sekou,
now,
I know when you are a journalist, you get information from a lot of people. And there's a possibility also you can get information from somebody intended to undermine somebody's character. Mr. Cummings that you talk about, hold on, Sekou, hold it there. Mr. Cummings that you talk about, you also well know Mr. Cummings just came from corporate America, where he played a major role. Don't you think he has earned himself enough money to be able to fund these activities?
No. Do you know that, let me bring this to you again. Do you know that Cummings' brother during Charles Taylor time, John Cummings, was the ambassador in Taiwan? Do you know of that?
And how does that, what does that have to do with his role today?
Very good. You know, we are journalists, right? We need to investigate. Now, Cummings' brother, John Cummings, used to be ambassador in Taiwan when Charles Taylor was the then president of this country. Now, most of the monies that Cummings he brags about he has, it is Charles Taylor money. Maybe you didn't know. I'm telling you today. Sekou, and then Charles Taylor used to send the money through John Cummings, who used to be the ambassador in Taiwan.
Sekou, this is focus on Liberia. We are all about facts, and our role here is to ask all the critical questions. There was a story that I came across and read, something that you are alluding to right here, that Comey made some money through Charles Taylor when Charles Taylor was in power. I had the opportunity to raise that with Mr. Cummings, and Mr. Cummings told me, "Look, here, this is all just propaganda." But let's leave it there. Our understanding is that you are just making accusations just like anybody would make. Let's go to the issue of Dr.nya. We said Dr.nya, if elected, will bring Congo people to power. Why are you talking about Congo and Native in this time in Liberia? You don't know the history of our country?
And now, if you ask another question, I think I don't want you to be saying that I'm just saying these things. In as much, there won't be time to provide all the pieces of evidence which I can send them to you, and because it's about my integrity. But I don't want you to be questioning and say, "Oh, it is." But let me tell you the issue about Ure. Now, do you know that Ure once said that the president should come from the Masonic Society in our country? Do you know that?
Go ahead.
Okay. No, I want you to retrospect. Maybe you've forgotten some of these things. Now, Dr.nya has been able to see the native people as less important. I'm not afraid to say this. He goes about do things that will seek his personal interest with the interest of his surrogates to the extent the Congo ones. Now, there's a man on many occasions, he do not see or think that a native person should be the head of this country. On many occasions, they plan to undermine this system. Why didn't Dr.nya do this, the same thing to Ellen when she was in power? Why did he go ahead and plan all these things and all of that when Ellen was in power? But because it is a native person in power, so they want to undermine. That is a clear example that they do not want to see. Now,
Sekou,
in as much it is not good to say this, in as much it is not good to say it, it is not also good for them to continue to undermine the peace of our country.
How is Mr. Ure undermining the peace of the country? By doing what?
Supporting series of protests that will restore the gains of the government.
Sekou, you were in Liberia during the presidency of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. As a journalist, you know that the CDC protested, I can say forever. Can that be compared to what Mr. Ure is doing? That would be my first question.
Even more compared to what he's doing. Now, listen, the Constitution gives right? Hey, man, sorry. Oh, I need to. Okay. Oh, my word. Sorry.
That's
the
okay.
Constitution gives right. The Constitution gives right to people to protest, but for reason. Now, what is the history of protest in our country? What are the changes that protest has been able to do in our country? Well, we protest on many occasions. And you know the instead of protest, yes, they did it. I'm not to speak for the people. Yes, they protested. But the people who are on something to bring a democratically elected government down, did CDC do it? If they did it, you can remind me.
Yes, Sekou.
But you guys are saying that this government should come down by all means.
Yes, Sekou, the CDC is on record. The CDC asked Ellen to resign. That is a fact. And it's in the paper. It's all over the place. Yes, CDC had planned a protest in which they wanted Ellen Johnson Sirleaf to resign. CDC did that. And there are reports that
I should not believe what you're saying because you've not been able to provide me facts? Should I say what you're saying it is not true?
You are here as a guest, and my role is
I know.
the host and asking the question so that you can make your case. And I will have to press you here, Sekou. All the things that you have said here, you told us right on this show that you have the pieces of evidence that you are willing to share. I want to put you on record. Are you prepared to share those pieces of evidence with us here at Focus on Liberia?
Definitely, definitely. You just gave me the issues. You want me to send you the pieces of evidence, I will send you them. You want me to send you recordings, I will send you them. You want me to send you pictures, I will send you them. You want me to send you links of information, I will do them. This is the job we do.
We will appreciate
you
you sending all links about Cummings' involvement. We will appreciate you sending all pictures that you talk about guns being abandoned in Ure compound. You mentioned send a video, maybe audio about conversation between the Ure and what's his name, Koli, Yake Koluba, sorry, planning to do something to undermine the peace of the country. But you have accused also Joseph Boaka. We will leave it here and then try to bring our audience in. What you have also have not been able to do, you accuse Benin Ure, who is a political leader of the political party. You accuse Coming, who is a political leader of the political party. You accuse Yosef Yaman Boaka, who is a political leader of another political party. George Weah is the president and also the political leader of a political party. You are here to accuse him. So somebody listening to you and say, well, this guy, is he a government supporter or actually a journalist? What do you say to that?
No, but apparently when I'm saying things you really do not follow, right? I said in as much it is the right of the people to protest, to do these things, it is also the right of every one of us to protect the peace. But we will not allow the government to continue to have workers' salaries being delayed, because that's one of the reasons why the people are angry. And so I'm saying the government in that direction, she's not doing well. So it's not that I'm sugarcoating anything to support the government or to say things against the government. Even myself, if I'm working for government and I've got to work for like 3-4 months, I'm not getting salary, it will hurt my heart because I know how it takes to work for government without salary. And so I'm saying to you on this public platform that in that direction, I think the government is not doing well. And she needs to double up to pay people whenever they work.
All right, thank you, Brother Sekou Shari. Let's leave it there for now. Folks in cyberspace, following us here on Focus on Liberia. My name is Anthony Sia, playing the role of a host. We have journalist Sekou Shari. Sekou Shari is a journalist in Liberia who works for the Freedom FM. Sekou has been offered as a burnt sacrifice to the Liberian government by the PUL for acts, according to the PUL, that is not in line with his professional conduct. So he's here to tell his story. Our understanding is that right now, Sekou is running away from arrest. Folks in cyberspace joining us, the phone line to call to participate is 605-313-6004. Again, 605-313-6004. And if you call, you can also enter the call 791403. Again, 791403. And if you call, just listen, and then I will unmute you and you will participate. And so we will go to our line, Sekou. Let's see if we have a caller on the line. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right. Thank you for joining us here on Focus on Liberia. What is your name, where you calling from, and what is your question or comment?
My name is Patrick Soa, and I call you from South Dakota.
Mr. Soa, welcome.
I have a comment, and it's my honor to be on Focus on Liberia. And I'm going to start with Mr. Yuri. You asked Sekou a question: how did he know that if Yuri is elected, they're going to elect his Congo brothers? And why is Sekou talking about Congo and native politics? Don't he know that the Congo and native politics impact on Liberia? Hey, it's not Sekou speaking about Congo and native politics. It's not Sekou that brought about Congo and native politics. The 2017 general and presidential elections, Joseph Boakai ticket with the vice presidential running mate, Nunkwe. Did you hear them talking about the natives and Congo ticket? And today, Ure has not home with Boakai. So what does that surmount to you? So it's not Sekou that bringing about the Congo and native politics. But during the 2017 general and presidential elections, Joseph Boakai vice running mate is on record. You can prove it, of pushing the Congo and native politics. So me, if you were to ask him besides Sekou, I would tell you insofar Ure has not home with Boakai right now, I would surmise that if they are elected, it will still go that route. My next point is the Kumi. Your critical question on Kumi, or your debate center around Kumi, suggests to me that you have got some interest in Kumi. And this is my own point. I'm not a journalist. I guess you are a journalist. Sekou is a journalist. In the journalist code of conduct, a journalist has the right to protect his authoritative source.
Mm-hmm.
It is, you can even drag him, put his neck on, put a gun to his chest. Sekou has repeatedly told you, you use your journalist code of conduct to get those necessary documents for him. But to say Sekou will come on media and tell you, say, yeah, I got my source. I'm bringing it right now. From my experience with journalists, you can take them even to the slaughterhouse. If they're not in court, they're not going to release their sources to you. So you use your own means and experience. Sekou, you got his contact, you got his information, and get all those stuff to him. The boss keep telling you, say, I have it, I have it, I have it. And those are authoritative documents. So, I mean, it's clear. Sekou, I appreciate your comment. I mean, you're sounding so logical, so eloquent. I haven't seen you, I don't know you, but I mean, just from listening to you this morning, I'm proud of you as a Liberian guy, as a Liberian journalist. I mean, keep firing, keep speaking truth to power. You got my support. Thank you, God bless.
Caller, thank you. Sekou, I asked you a question before we could bring our caller in, and I did not get an answer from you. All right, and the question was that you have made serious charge.
All participants are muted, and they can unmute themselves.
Hold on. All right, Sekou, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you, though.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I asked a question earlier, and I did not get an answer from you. I'm going to press you again. You accuse
Go ahead.
You accuse Ure of something. He is a political leader. You accuse Kumi of something, or maybe many things. Yes, you went to Boakai. Boakai has failed. He did not do anything when he was in power. And then I am yet to get any accusation against Joshua. Are you afraid of Joshua? Because these people are all political leaders of political parties. You've been clear.
But I continue to say this, right?
What charge or what accusation do you have against President Weah?
No, it is not. You know the job we do. We should not speak because we want to speak. We should not come to discussions with personal feelings. We should speak with facts. Now, I said to you, and I will say to you again, that the way the government is proceeding in terms of paying salaries of her workers should not be. Isn't it sufficient to say that she's not doing well in that direction?
Sekou, my question is, you have personal accusation against political leaders that I named.
Okay.
All right. These are individuals, political individuals, and none of political individual is President Weah. So I just want to see some fairness from you. You don't have to. I'm not saying you.
So you feel satisfied when I say things about people with our fights, right?
No, that's
but
not.
But this is what you want me to say, because what I've said now, even when Ellen was in power, this is
now you're going to Ellen. Now you're going to Ellen. Sekou, hold on, Sekou. No, Sekou, hold on.
Okay.
I've said here that you do not have to say anything if you don't know anything. Just tell me you don't know anything, any personal accusation against.
So you want me to be personal on issues? No, I do not discuss personal issues.
I just said that you don't have to if there isn't, in your opinion, if you don't have the facts. Just tell me that you don't have the facts on anything that you know of that you can point to against the president, because you've been direct at Cummings, direct at Bwaka, direct at Ure. So is Joshua, President Joshua, is saying that you don't have anything? I mean, you've been practicing journalism for this long. What is holding you back?
But my brother, we need to speak with facts. And all the questions and the way you try to do it, I know how to question people when I want to get certain information out of you. I understand this is what you want to do. Maybe you want me to say something that it is not of, the truth nature. But no, that's not how it is. What we come to the table with as journalists, we need to come with facts. I said it and I will say it again. The way in which the government has not been able to pay, who's the head of this government? It's the president. So you want me to say the president first before it be okay? Okay, the way the president government is not paying the people's salaries on time, it is not good. I think we need to work on that. Now, you talk about the issue concerning Joe Bwaka. I said something and I will say to you, I will send you the video. When Joe Bwaka was the vice president of the Republic of Liberia, the people in Wasonga, do you know that he hails from Wasonga in Lofa? Now, the people in Wasonga couldn't boast of safe drinking water, electricity, health system, education system. Now, you will see in that video where the people were complaining. Can you imagine a certain vice president, at time approximately around 500 residents? The vice president at the time could not help the people to get safe drinking water. The PTA were the ones paying teachers' salaries. They have only one PA at the hospital in Wasonga. Now, we as journalists, we cut across. Is it happening in this current time where you will see, go to Popo Beach, we claim to say, okay, where the president he is from? The people there, they are living in a very, very good living condition because what he has done, right? They said when the Christmas will be good, you will know from the eve. There is a man, he served this country. He said he's on record. I can share the audience with you that they squandered the opportunities of this country. And he said, and I quote, there are a lot of tremendous work to be done in the base sector, in agriculture. But this is a man, if you and I will argue, we'll say he's an agriculturalist. What has he done? I'm talking about Joe Bwaka. What has he done? Let us not allow the politicians to use all for their personal interest. Why can't they tell us the truth? And why can't they tell us the truth? It is good to tell the people the truth instead of giving them lies at the end of the day to seek your personal interest, because at the end of the day, you and I will not be in the frame to support the way they're going to support themselves.
All right, Sekou, let's leave it there for now. I wish you were prepared to answer that question. Now we will move into the last segment. We will talk about maybe one or two national issues that are on the minds of Liberians right now. Folks in cyberspace, my name is Anthony Sie, and I'm hosting here at Focus on Liberia. We have with us journalist Sekou Sharif. Sekou Sharif works for Freedom FN. Sekou Sharif, I understand, is a host there on 108 programs. We have Sekou here because Sekou is in high water with the Press Union of Liberia. Our understanding, he's on the run. He's been recommended to the Liberian government to be arrested and prosecuted for charge that is yet to be cleared. Folks, if you are joining us again, this is Focus on Liberia. We will now move into the last segment of our conversation here. Oh, Sekou, December 30th. Earlier, you were talking about Ure and opposition, supporting protests and that ought to do. You were talking about, don't they know the history of protests in Liberia? But you also, to be fair to you, said that, I mean, it is their right to assemble as provided for in the Constitution. And that is what they are doing. What I'm sensing is that you have serious concern about the December 30th protest. Why?
And I like the question you asked. It is their right to protest, right? But it is not their right to call for the removal of a democratically elected government. Do you agree with me?
Go ahead.
No, I want you to agree first. Now, the Constitution gives everyone the right to protest, but the Constitution did not give you the right to remove a democratically elected government. And so, the guys that have organized this issue, I don't want to dignify, because in my mind, from all the loopholes and columns I've discussed with all the people, I'm not too good at discussing with the bigger guys in government or somewhere, but I discussed with the common people that their voices cannot be heard. They are fed up with all the things, these self-seeking issues. The guys that put themselves together on serious bunch of unserious people that put themselves together. Now, this is the issue. You want to protest. Yes, it's good to protest. Yes, that's how we call on our government. But do we also understand that how many protests in this country yield result in terms of what we want to see? Another thing, your rights starts from this point, your rights end to this point. Another person's right starts from this point, end to another point. So your rights cannot oversee another person's rights, right? And in as much, it is good to protest, but you cannot say you will have a democratically elected government. Remove. We will not support. Do you think that our government will just sit and wait on some bunch of unserious people put themselves together and come to say, okay, we're about to remove you, and then they will sit and accept themselves to be removed? No, they won't do that. Now, you know how many lives will be taken away? Do you know how many persons will die? Do you know how many persons will go back in life? Do we sometimes sit and think about these things? Or the only thing we think about is to satisfy the politicians at the end of the day, where are their children? Benina Ure, can Benina Ure put Tella Ure on the street? Benita Ure, can Alexander Cummings put Bwaka Cummings on the street? Now, Bwaka Cummings, he says in South Africa, he does one of the biggest businesses in South Africa. Why can't he invest in Liberia if his father thinks that he loves this country? Joe Bwaka, can he put his children on the streets to protest on that day? And so there has got to be the common people. The people will continue to use us. At the end of the day, our lives will be taken away because their children will be thrown out of this country.
Sekou, you are a journalist, and my understanding of the role that a journalist plays or should play is by reporting, educating, but you more like you have an opinion, very strong, especially on the opposition side, because you just said here that a bunch of unserious people. I thought you should be reporting what's happening. I'm not saying as a wait, hold on. I'm not saying as a journalist you can't provide an analysis, maybe an opinion, an informed opinion, but I'm just concerned that if you are a journalist and branding people, the this, the that, when you just be reporting, informing, and analyzing the issue, somebody will say that, you have taken side. But my question here is that you said, let's look at free speech, something that is being provided for or by the Constitution. You said that it is not right, or it is wrong, or it is unconstitutional that a group of people or anybody will call for the removal of a sitting president. How can you prove that that is unconstitutional?
But you really think that you should go protest to remove a certain president? Is that the way? No. Do you know how do they remove a certain president? Now, this is why, right? When we educated people, we sell our ignorances to the word. It has got to be very bad. Now you got three branches of government. You got the executive, you got the judiciary, and you got the legislature. If for any reason or reasons that we think the president is not proceeding well, that is the reason why we've got our direct representatives. We engage our lawmakers, tell them why you say we think that the government is not proceeding well, right? And then the lawmakers are responsible to speak for us. But how many independent or very straightforward lawmakers do we have in this country? How many of them? We do not. And so at the end of the day, we use ourselves to do things that we will not get result from.
All right, Sekou, let me fit there. We have a caller on the line. We have a caller on the line. Caller on the line, your name and where you're joining us from. Caller, are you there? I think we lost that caller, Sekou. So the Constitution is clear, and people have the right to free speech, and they can express themselves as they feel. And I think that's what the individuals are saying. But anyway, you spoke to that. Let me ask this question. Are there not conditions, because you are a journalist, you're on the ground, you see what is obtaining. Are there not conditions on the ground that can provoke the people to assemble and call on their government to address their concerns? You don't see the conditions in the country to necessitate that?
If you and I, we are
So my question is, are there conditions on the ground?
There were conditions even before this government.
That would push anybody or any group of people to call for a protest.
There were conditions even before this government. So there will always be conditions to make the people to be angry.
Okay.
You cannot satisfy all the citizenry in the country. Do you know?
Our caller is back on the line, Sekou. Our caller is back on the line. Sorry. Caller, your name and where are you joining us from? Caller, hello. Caller, are you there? All right. Sekou, continue. You were talking about there will always be conditions. Go ahead.
You know, it's always good to be an investigative journalist. When the 12 years of Ellen and Joe Walker were gearing conclusion, the Ellen Joe Walker administration went ahead, extended concessions agreement with concessionaires, thus putting this current government under the obligation to serve but not to receive dime from any one of the concession companies in Liberia. Do you know the trickle-down effect of concessionaires not supporting the national budget? Do you know how many percentage? Do the calculation. Do you know how many percentage we do receive from concessions companies in our country? Now, some companies that had 2 years for expiration, Ellen and Joe Barker went to the extent, gave them like 20 years, and they gave the money for their personal use. They went to the other company, if they've got 5 years, they gave them 30 years. Then you can just name the rest of them. And so this government, I'm speaking as a journalist, so this government has got no legitimate rights to ask the concessionaires to give money to them any longer. So the only thing the government is doing is serving the companies. And this government has got no other external support. Like in the case or the cases of Ellen and Joe Walker, you have oil in this country. You have people coming in this country because we came from war. And so there are a lot of investors coming in the country. Now, because the Ellen and the Joe Walker administration did not utilize most of the donors' fundings they funded this country with, the people withdrew that support. With the understanding that the government is not serious. In your own red man, do you think it is important for a donor to give you money to do a role? You took the money and do it for your personal issue.
Sekou, to a point. Sekou, to a point, I get what you are saying, but are you trying to suggest that because we are on whether there are conditions for which any group of people will want to protest? And I'm assuming here that you are narrating this story as being some of the factors that might have brought about this condition that exists today. So my question is that you were also talking about Ome being there. Are you trying to suggest that we had Ome, we had security, so then it was good to protest, and now because maybe security reasons or because the previous government caused all the conditions we have today, so nobody from the previous government and any group of Liberians should not protest? Is that what you're trying to inform us here about?
Who determines as to who should protest in a country? I'm not one of the person that determine or accept people protesting in a country. But like I said, I want us to be realistic. Now do your calculation now. You can go. It's so good in advanced world. Go and do a research now and just step in a group and say, how much did All support the Liberian budget with from 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12? Now, All supported us usually in our budget. You have other donors coming in to support us usually in our budget. But likewise, in this case, we do not have them. I'm not speaking like to say I'm a government person. No, but I'm speaking as a journalist and a citizen as well. There are no supports coming from all the institutions. This government is being supported by herself.
All right. So cool, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Folks in cyberspace, if you are joining us here, or if you have been with us, of course, this is Focus on Liberia. My name is Anthony Sier. I am hosting here on this special editions of our program. We have with us journalist Sekou Sharif of Freedom FM. He's on the run. He's in high water with the Press Union of Liberia. The Press Union of Liberia has offered him as a burn sacrifice, and he's been trying to tell his story. But being a journalist, we also want his opinion or analysis on the issues that are on the minds of Liberians, sorry. And so that is why we are now discussing some national issues. Sekou, let's move to the printing of new money in Liberia. Our government cannot account for the total amount of money printed in the past by the previous government that was also received by this government. But the government is now printing or talking about printing new money. Do you see reasons why new money should be printed at this time? Sekou, are you there?
Yeah. I'm here.
All right. Before I come back to you, let me see if our caller is on the line. Caller, are you here with us? Your name and where you calling from? That caller must not be there. So yeah, Sekou, I don't know what is happening. I can't see you anymore, but I think I can hear you. Go ahead and respond to the question. We might be having some technical problem with Sekou right there. So while we wait for our guest to return to respond to the question, let me recognize some of our followers here in our news feed. Sekou, are you there now? Oh, I think we lost him. Do we have a caller on the line?
Nope. Hello.
All right, caller, thank you for joining. Yeah, caller, are you there?
I don't know which one to call it. Are you referring to me now?
Sekou, are you the one speaking?
Hello.
Yeah, caller, I'm talking to you.
Hello?
Yeah, caller, I'm talking to you.
Yeah,
how are you and where are you joining us from?
Oh, if this is, I don't know if I'm talking to you, but this is Percy Evans. I'm joining you from Philadelphia.
Yes, my brother, go ahead.
I have a couple of questions for the young man that in studio with you this morning.
Yeah. Well, sorry, it has been difficult to get some people on the line, but you are live now. You are loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay. Can you say my name so I know I'm talking to you? Can you repeat my name? Because I don't know if you're referring to me.
I'm talking to you, and please say your name, please.
My name is Percy McKenzie.
And you're joining us from Philadelphia. Go right ahead.
Yes. Yes. And I do have questions for your studio guest.
Go ahead.
Your studio guest has been around the place. You know, he has, I think confusing his ideas. I wanted to ask him a couple of questions, and I believe he's a journalist. So I don't know from where he speaks from. He speaks from a personal opinion, and where he's speaking from right now, he's speaking as a journalist because he got me confused. You know, when you start a brand and label people as a journalist, then I see a problem coming for your future. And I think that one of the problems he's running from right now. I think he said the government looking for him or whatever he said. I see some of the reasons for which the government will look for him. Because when you start a brand and label people for the profession you are in, you know, you practice more bias than you practice, you know, fair practice. That's not good for your profession. So that's why I want to film. I'm sorry he's not on the line.
Yeah, we just make your comment and then we will go to the next caller, please.
All right, because he was, first of all, he's talking about people don't have the right. Okay, yes, people have the right to summon, to petition the lawmakers, okay, for peaceful, for airing the grievances to the lawmakers. That's true. But people also have the right to assemble themselves. For example, when the lawmakers are not acting within the scope of the lawmakers are not listening to the people for which they represent. Okay, if they're not listening, you can go ahead. And he keep making the history of Liberia he keep making this assertion of Liberia got a history of negative stories about protests. But he's going to the far, the very remote history. Okay, I believe he's talking about the history of the 80s. He's not coming into the history of the present, where you get witness on June 7th, a peaceful protest, one of the most peaceful protests in the world that was ever recorded. He's not even coming back to close memory. He's going back far memory. Very far memory, very remote. Then he come back to what just happened when people came ahead. Okay? Since the people came on the street. Since they came on the streets in Liberia to express their grievances to the government, what has the government done? So since then, the government hasn't made any change. So this is not a government that's going to listen to anybody. This is a government that's going to listen to the people when the people come on the street. And I support the people going on the street. And I support them. But I support them peacefully, just as we were peaceful before. That's the same way I'm asking them to be peaceful. And I will ask the government to maintain that peace. So the government is responsible for maintaining that peace.
Thank you, caller. You've made your point loud and clear. Thank you, caller. You made your point loud and clear. We appreciate you for calling in today here on Focus on Liberia. Thank you.
Okay, then.
All right. Bye-bye. So, folks in cyberspace, this is Focus on Liberia. My name is Anthony C. Today, we are having a special morning edition with General Sekou Sharif. We lost him, and we see that he's trying to come back. And we have been talking about an arrest that is being issued on his person by the President of Liberia, an institution he is a member of. And now we are talking about some national issues. We are now on the topic, the printing of new banknotes, but we can still get our guests. Sekou, are you back with us?
Yes, I'm back.
All right, Sekou.
But I'm not seeing. Apparently, you got to look at the camera. I'm not.
Yeah. So you want to make sure you join with video. You want to tap on video. Look at your device somewhere there. It will tell you join with device audio.
I've done all of that.
Video. Okay. All right. Then let's go to our next caller. Caller, are you there? All right. We don't have a caller on the line. Yeah. Sekou, we will soon be wrapping things up here very quickly. We were talking about the printing of new bank note. Do you think there are reasons for us to go into the printing of new money now, when in fact, the first billions that were printed up to today's date cannot be accounted for?
There are too many reasons why, in my mind as a journalist, it is important for the printing of new banknotes. Are you there?
Sekou, hold on. We seem to have a caller on the line. Caller, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, what's your name and where are you joining us from?
My name is Kinsito Ray. I'm calling from Minnesota. How are you?
Okay. All right. Can you speak a little louder and make your point?
Yeah, I said my name is Kinsito Ray. I'm calling from Minnesota. I said, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well. Thanks for joining us here and go right ahead.
Oh, that's fine. I just want to speak on what Brother Sekou just said concerning about Liberia.
He's coming very low.
I can hear him clear, Sekou.
But I'm not hearing you though.
Yeah, that's okay. I will share that with you.
I'm sorry. You got everything is up. My phone running everything up.
Okay.
Are you getting it?
Yeah. Go ahead, caller.
Brother Sekou just said that Liberia or this was or how they call it Harry Costa want to do is not part of the Constitution. That's it. He is completely lying to us, which means he's not reading the Constitution. Recent ban, those that made the Constitution, they are not going by the rules. So what you think the other politicians come into to do the same thing? And secondly, you spoke on the printing of the money, the new money in Liberia. Brother Anthony, they not say getting too much now in Liberia. There's not any president that will enter in that country or in the chair that will come out of the printing money. This is a serious embarrassment for our nation. You get me?
Yeah.
It's getting serious in Liberia. Yeah. How will you have 3 to 4 currencies in one country? I tell you, when Joria move in power today, the next government will go there again, they will come out again to print another currency again. So, printing of the new money, I'm not saying no idea in it or either knowledge in it.
So,
that is completely wrong.
Yeah, but brother, before they can go into printing money, because it is the right of the government to print new money, and there are reasons why government has that authority to do so. And when all those conditions are met to print new money, they must. I want to ask you, what do you want to see before new money can be printed? Is there anything that you think they're missing that they have not done yet, for which you don't see the need to print new money now?
Oh, no, I should ask that question because I want to ask you what the reason they want to print new money for. I should have asked you, Brother Anthony. It's so good that you brought in the question.
Okay, I think we will try to bring somebody from the government or maybe a supporter of the government to speak to that issue. Thank you. We have another caller on the line.
That's good. That's good. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm still listening.
All right. Thank you for your participation this morning.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye. So, Sekou, we have to wrap our thing here. The printing of new money.
No,
The printing of new money. Where do you stand?
Yeah, like when you asked the question, I was trying to weigh in and you received the call. Now,
yeah,
there are reasons why we should print new banknotes, right? I want us to be specific. People say, oh, you're changing the currency and everything. No, we should speak as people that understand the subject matter of what we discuss. You're not changing the currency. The currency remains as a Liberian dollar. That's the currency, Liberian dollar currency. That's it. They're not changing it. It is the banknotes that are going to be changing. Why is it at this time? Now, How will a government run not knowing how much is in circulation? Do you think that is fair? The great United States that every one of you are residing, can the government of the United States come up and say they do not know how much is in circulation? Now, I continue to say there were problems that were created. Government is continuity. And so it is the obligation of this government to settle the problems. One of the problems, it is the issue about the printing of new banknotes. No serious government at the end of her tenure will print money. Because of self-interest, personal motives, they went ahead and did it. So now we do not know. The government has said she is not in the know of how much is in circulation. How do you control the monetary value of issues? How do you do a regulatory process to regulate the process as to the issue? How much should be the rate and how the process should be? When today you will see this other banknote, tomorrow you see the other banknote. And when they see people that they've got the monies into their homes, they decide and determine the fate of the rate in the country. And so the government said, no, let us print this amount. And now we will be answerable because this is the amount we're printing, and this is what we're going to put in the market. This is what's going to be reserved. And at the end of the day, do you know that there's a law that that came from the executive asking the lawmakers to pass this and make this as a law where you will have the United States dollars to serve as a reserve into the central bank, and then the Liberian dollars to be the legal tendons in our country where we will go and use it. You won't go buy, sometimes you won't go buy a car. You need to use the LD. How you can do this until you have a control of a system where you're going to have this amount being printed and then be accounted for. But for now, we do not know how much is in circulation. Once some money, you work out some accounts say the rate at 200, another time someone said at 300. You cannot control the system when you do not know how much is into the system. So in my mind, it is important for them to print the money.
Thank you, Sekou. Folks in cyberspace joining us here at Focus on Liberia. For your information, tomorrow here at Focus on Liberia, on our program, the Hour of Politics, we will be having two financial experts, and that program comes on tomorrow at 7 p.m. Minnesota time, which I believe will be 6 p.m. Eastern time. Here I focus on Liberia on the Hour of Politics. Again, we will be having two financial experts to go deep into the issue of printing money. We'll be looking at the merits and demerits of the printing of money. We'll also look at what happened to the first money. All these things will be discussed here tomorrow, here at Focus on Liberia. Don't miss it. Join us 7 p.m. Minnesota time. We will leave it there for now, and we will be coming to the close of our show. Sekou,
yeah,
thank you for honoring our invitation. You've been able to try very hard to answer the questions. And but one thing that came out of me interviewing you and you providing answers is that you are more like not saying much about how the government is performing, for which we have serious economic situation in the country. You want to speak to that, and then we will call it a day?
I don't know if you say I'm not saying much. I don't know what exactly you want me to say, unless maybe you help me as to the issues you want me to talk about. Because I've said to you that this government took over a system that was broken. This government is not receiving support from concessionaires in the country. This government is not receiving support from donors. This government is not receiving support from other institutions that past administrations received support from. So I don't know what else do you want me to say.
All right, Sekou, thank you, my dear brother. Folks in cyberspace, this is Focus on Liberia. My name is Anthony Sie, hosting here this morning. I don't know if we have a caller on the line. Caller, are you there?
Hello?
Yes, hello, caller, are you there? What your name and where you joining up from?
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Hamilton Tapper, calling from Philadelphia, USA, my brother.
Mr. Tapper, go straight to the issue.
Okay, yeah. So you post a question to Sekou, and you make a statement by saying that how can the government propose the printing of new money when the missing money haven't been accounted for? My brother, I don't know if you are a journalist or you are a talk show host. And if you're discussing this kind of issue, you got to be informed on the topic on a discussion. It's kind of unfortunate for you to say that the government having accounts for the missing $16 billion. If you look at when the report came out, the government arrested some individuals that were involved in the printing of the money. And there's court proceeding pending those individuals as we speak. So if you're saying that the government having take responsibility or account for the money, then I got a little bit confused. So the second thing is, there were 3 different recommendations made to the government. What should be done? One, the Crow report specifically told the government what should be done to the entire money. They said the entire money should be thrown out, change the money. Then the president hosted, the Liberian government hosted economic forums. At the end of that economic forum, they also made recommendation to the government that the money needed to be changed. Then there was another recommendation from the presidential investigative team that were put into place when the money, the missing $16 billion business came about. They also make that recommendation. They also said in those reports that 90% of the Liberian currency were not in the bank. It was outside the banking sector. So if something is outside the banking sector, how can the government control it? The government does not even know how much in circulation. Why in the bank, why outside, the government doesn't know. The government cannot control something they don't know anything about. If you can remember the game, when the money business came about, the central bank governor that were appointed by Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Milton Weeks appeared before the Liberian Senate. One of the senators asked Mr. Weeks, how much money is circulation? Meaning money outside the banks and money in the banks. Mr. Weeks said he doesn't know. Now, this vaccine got that printed the money. If you don't know, how will the present government know how much is circulation? So, my advice, we got to be careful about this whole situation because this thing going to affect our country one way or the other. Another thing I want to address, it has to do with protest. Sekou continue to tell you that Liberia has the right on our constitution to protest. But there's nowhere in our constitution that says citizens should just come out and say the only thing we want to do is to remove the government from power. Let the president step down and leave power. The Constitution did not call for that. The Constitution empowers citizens to petition their government for collective bargaining. That's why it said. It didn't say tell your government to leave power. If anybody comes to say the government should leave power, my brother, do you think the government just going to pack up and leave power? They're going to create chaos. It's going to be like Samuel Doe said. Samuel Doe said, when 2 elephants fight, the grass suffers. So that's what we don't want in our country.
Thank you, my brother. Let's leave it right there. And tomorrow here, I focus on Liberia on the hour of politics. We comes on 7 p.m. Minnesota time. We will be going into the printing of the new money. We having 2 financial experts. I will encourage you to join us 7 p.m. tomorrow Minnesota time, and we will go straight into this issue. Thank you for your participation, and we appreciate you. Sekou.
Yeah.
Your closing statement.
Yeah, before I just close, I want to just say 1 or 2 things about what the caller just dropped the line said. Now, if you understood how he explained himself, he supported me in almost all the issues. One of the areas where he a bit contradicted himself is clear. I talk about the government not in the know of the amount in circulation.
Goodbye.
How do you expect the government to control the system? All the things he talked about, they were done by the past administration entering into this government. And so, core report, XYZ report, all the reports, they said what they wanted to see. And then, how do you have a control of a system that you do not know what to say about? Until you have a control, you need to know how much is in circulation. So to know these things, now you know that some people are using are usually keeping the money into their homes. Whenever they're in need of US, they punch this money out, and at the end of the day, the US rate has got to change. So to get rid of all these things, print the new money. There's no more in this country will tell me say they've been keeping 1 million in their home. It is not possible. So when people try to bring the money to have it in terms of exchange process, we will get to know who are those keeping the monies into their homes. But until these things can be done, let us change the money and have control of the process, and then we can forge ahead. Let me say thank you to you for giving me the opportunity. I hope that all the people been listening, they understand some of the things I said. But the main reason I decided to honor the invite was the issue concerning from the president of Liberia, though we've entered into politics, but the president of Liberia asking the government of Liberia through the Ministry of Justice onward to the court and out of the police to have me arrested. I see that as a major. I'm not saying I above the law, but I'm challenging the Ministry of Justice to come and arrest me, or I'm challenging anyone else to come. I want to know what are the issues that they want to come and arrest me. And I will continue to remain vocal on national issues in our country. That will not deter me. I won't relent because the guy one Ministry of Justice say, oh, they want to have me arrested. No, I'm not afraid. So I say thank you to you. Thank you to every one of you. One of the persons that I really admired at the time he was in the country, he called the very first caller, Patrick Sua. You know, he cannot remember me, but being in the media for a very long period of time, we cover some of the advocacy, some of the programs they are in the country. He's one of the young persons I really admire and respect. And I said thank you to the management of Focus on Liberia for giving me the opportunity so that my side of the story can be explained to the world and also provide my own analysis on the governance of our country and political issues in Liberia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sekou, and thank you for honoring our invitation. Folks in cyberspace, that was the voice of Sekou Sharif, our guest for today. Sekou is in high water with the Press Union of Liberia, so we thought to reach out to him to come and explain his side of the story. He said the Press Union of Liberia is giving instruction to the Ministry of Justice to effect his arrest on his stand of issues in the press union. Sekou want to again say thank you for joining us today, and we want to say bye-bye to you. So to our folks in cyberspace, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you for joining us here on Focus on Liberia. We want to encourage you to join us tomorrow on this same network at 7 tomorrow evening. We will be discussing the printing of new money. Again, my name is Anthony Sie, and this is how we will draw the curtain from here. Bye-bye.